Hi, it's Richard, and welcome to the Conscious Marketer podcast. I'm joined by my co-host Kylie. Hi, Kylie.
Hello.
And we're going to today talk about something that I think is really important, and it's how some of the work that you can do actually could save lives in the world. And I think when we think about marketing or our services and reaching people, I think it's easy to kind of depersonalize what we do and talk about like, hey, how many people can I get to join this webinar or add to the list? And I think maybe a different perspective is that for many people listening to this podcast, you might be a healer or a psychologist or teaching people some movement practice, or even just, a lot of people teach health practices, could be fitness or working out. A lot of the work you do literally can save people's lives, and this can be through helping them to be in better control. It could be through health. It could be saving their relationship, and quite frankly, even helping people not take their own life. Because that happens quite a bit in our world today. I don't know, Kylie. So, like, I don't know if you have a perspective on this, but if you start to shift away from, hey, I've got to add some emails to my list or do this webinar, to, hey, I'm going to do this because I want to literally help save some lives out there and get my hands on the people that really need it. This just changes the perspective of like, I get this huge opportunity to help people. And then, then when it's hard or Facebook ad costs go up or you have to spend a few hours writing the copy, you just don't complain as much because the work that you're going to do has a real big impact in the world beyond even what you might even imagine.
Yeah, I mean, I can even make an argument for marketing strategy, which is what we sell, saving lives, which sounds really weird. I mean, it's easy to say like a health coach could be saving a life. Maybe they're helping clear up the microbiome, which is in turn helping to heal the immune system. And we can see that immediate life-saving effect. But even with our work, it does, in a sense, save lives because there's that saying, don't die with the music inside of you. And when I sit down with a lot of our clients, they express that in one way or another. I have this thing that I'm here to do, and if I don't do it, it's like soul crushing. And they've gone to all these other people and all these other strategists, and they've learned things that, with no disrespect to those people, they've learned things that don't feel good to them. It's like too tight of a suit. It doesn't fit, it doesn't feel good. And we show them a way to do it in which they feel good about, they can breathe in it, it's like it fits, and they go out there and they help people. So not only does it help our clients to have that experience of, I'm not going to die with the music inside of me, I'm going to give my full impact, but then the people that they're here to help also are getting their lives saved in one way or another. So I think when we do look at it from that perspective, it does become an urgency, like a soul urgency of, I really have to get this done. And it also makes all the grindy work easier. It makes it more palatable. Oh gosh, like I've got to write 5 emails in 2 days, or I've got to go on Facebook again. I hate Facebook or whatever. But when we know we're throwing out that life raft, it makes everything in marketing different.
Yeah, and I have a coach, and I remember asking that coach, how do I increase my level of motivation in the world? And he's like, oh yeah, I don't touch that one. Like, you have to figure that out yourself. So part of this inquiry for me was like, well, how do I increase my motivation? And there's obviously a point where, your business might be running okay and you're successful, but then it just kind of goes a little flat. And I think for myself, I realized that the intention to like really help a lot more people with their inner worlds was one of the big things. It started to kind of fuel my desire to like really like double and triple the number of people that I could impact. It also started to help me to see if I could get my, or when I get my book out there, the impact that it can have in the world. And I'll tell a quick story, but we had a client that in the early stages of COVID, his business shut down because he was doing online events. And he came to us and he wanted to do, was like, how do I get some of the stuff online? And so we created a 9 month, it was actually a year program where he was going to teach every week. And about 9 months in, he got sick and went in the hospital and never came out. Now, although that was quite sad, what I felt good about with the work that we did with him is we put down 9 months of legacy information that will be around for future generations and his kids and his grandkids. And he carried a specific band of knowledge that only he had, and so that program that we created with him is legacy material for future generations, and probably completed some of the work he was meant to do on the planet. And so we have this illusion that we have all the time in the world, we're going to live forever, or that even the opportunities online. But who's to say, like, like that God's not going to take us out next, or that our financial situation's going to change, or, like maybe all the people in the Ukraine had all these rosy ideas around how they were going to do things, and then their whole life changed in a matter of a couple months there. So we don't know how the economy is going to change, how our own personal circumstances are going to change. So I think this building in a sense of urgency, trying to get leverage, but it's kind of like my coach said, I don't think it's for him to tell me, or for me to tell you how to create the urgency. But I think this intent of seeing the consequences of if you don't get your work out there, or if you're not able to, like you said, Kylie, like, and then moving into gamifying, saying, look, I want to double my list, or I want to double my business so that I can impact more people. Then you can start to get leverage on yourself. But it doesn't come from, I have to do this, but I have this opportunity to do this. And for me, like writing my book and doing a few of the other projects we're involved with, it's like I get up every day like super excited now, because I know how much of an impact those things can have in the world. So Kylie, like, I'm kind of curious for you, like when we're both marketers, we both work with a lot of clients. It has ups and downs. I'm kind of curious, how do you get leverage in your own world when maybe you get up and you don't have all the motivation? Because I think on new projects, sometimes that there's an intrinsic motivation, but how do you see your work as being of service to the world, and find that inner drive to make things happen every day?
Yeah, it's interesting because usually my drive is really high and my motivation is really high, but right now I'm going through a lower motivation period because I just moved and it was exhausting, and I'm traveling a lot more than I want to, and it's just making me tired. So I don't have as much drive when I'm at my house. It's kind of coming back. But one of the things that I'm able to key into is how I feel like my clients are the solution to problems that are a lot bigger than me, that scare me a little bit. Like, even politically, there's things happening, there's conversations happening in the political landscape that really scare me, that feel like they're a threat to my safety and things like that. And so it reminds me that helping my clients to get their work to more people is this huge ripple effect that can change some of the things in the world that feel a little bit out of my control, and in a really positive way. But there's an urgency to it. It's like, this has to happen fast. Like, things can get really wobbly really, really quickly here in the States and all over the world. And so I'm encouraged to continue to wake up and help them. And sometimes I'm like hand holding, I'm reading their copy, I'm watching their videos, and I feel like I'm hand holding a little bit. And other times I get to like put together a really fun campaign, like what I'm doing behind the scenes right now for one of our programs. But either way, it's like every word I write, every video that I watch, every piece of critique that I give is making the world a better place, is building the world that I want to see, even though on a day-to-day basis, it doesn't always feel that way. It's like sometimes I feel like I'm just logging through a bunch of work, but it is at the end of the day making a big difference. And we get to see that. One of our clients just had a $250,000 month, and she's doing really deep work with people that's changing their lives. And she never thought that that was possible for her. And it's not only does it make it possible for the other clients in our group, but it just goes to show that you can go from not knowing how to market to being really successful in a pretty short period of time. And when we get to be a part of that in other people's lives, the ripple of impact is huge.
Yeah, I love what you're saying, and it's so true. And when I was younger, I think I used to think that I needed to have like a stadium of people. Maybe still that would be fun some point, right? We still hold that, but more and more I realized, if like you think a lot of the great leaders, they actually influenced a smaller number of people, and then typically one of them went out and influenced another larger group of people. So if you think of people like I don't know, like Oprah or Steve Jobs or whoever your favorite guru is, Martin Luther King, these people went out and influenced millions. And often the people that you work with, it might just be the one client out of the 1,000 that you serve in the next 10 years, that goes out and makes this huge ripple. And without your help, they wouldn't have made it happen, or they may have chosen a different path or not had the courage and inspiration. So it's this idea like, hey, this year there's going to be one client that I work with that maybe influences my grandkids or their grandkids or the collective soul of humanity. Like, because we work with a lot of big spiritual teachers, and a lot of these people are doing big things in the collective field. Like we did a launch for Science and Non-Duality and the Wisdom of Trauma through Gabor Mate, and that movie reached 10 million people. Who's this? It's hard for us to see the impact of that movie on the 10 million people that watched it. It's a huge impact in that field. And so things like that. But when we went into that, we just went into the intention of like, hey, let's help this person, like get their movie in more hands. But it's almost like the universe takes care of the rest. So the nice part is all you have to do is have the strong intention and go out there and serve more people. And then that ripple effect isn't something that you actually have to work at. It just kind of happens naturally.
Yes, no, there's 10 million people doing ayahuasca to heal their trauma. Yeah, no, that's super true. And I remember the first campaign that I worked on, I was just kind of messing around and playing around. And it was super cool because the people that hired me to run their affiliate program and to do their ads, they didn't ever worry about the money. They just gave me a budget and they're like, hey, go out and make us some money. And so because they didn't have a stress consciousness around it, I got to just be really creative and in my flow. And so I created some ads that made them millions of dollars. And a big part of it was because of how they acted towards it. But it just, the ripple effect, like Richard was just talking about, we don't always know the impact we're making, but I still meet people that came into that program, even just like a couple weeks ago, that are doing the coolest things in the world. I met this one woman who's a sales coach for health coaches, and she went through that program that I sold. I just met her in Nashville recently, and the impact she's having because she was a health coach, and then she realized health coaches are not able to get the clients that they need to be getting. I understand it inside and out. She was like the top salesperson in a coffee machine company, and now she's helping health coaches help more people. And all of this was because I sat there one day and wrote an ad that reached all these people. And she's just one story. I meet people all the time that went through that program that are doing amazing things in the world. And I was just sitting there playing and having fun. So the flip side of it is, yeah, like sometimes it's really stressful, keep going. But also the flip side is have fun too, because marketing actually gets to be super fun. It's just an outpouring of your creativity and an outpouring of your love and your values and your higher faculties in a way that's communicative, that does inspire other people. And like the example I just gave, if you learn to do it without the stress and the pressure of like, I have to do this right and it has to be now, you can actually reach more people and have even more impact. So I hadn't thought about that in a while, but it's really true that their laxness about the resources was what helped me to be able to have that impact.
Yeah, that's great. And this is such an important thing for all of us to go into. And it's like you said, it's as you do it this way, it becomes easier, it becomes more fulfilling, you're more motivated, and you actually make more money. It's like super fun. So find the passion and realize that getting your work into more people's hands and growing your business, it's almost like a sacred obligation, because many of you that are listening to this, whatever your business is part of your spiritual path and your sacred path to serve other people. And so doing that for more people and doing it at a deeper level will impact not only yourself, but the world. So we hope you've enjoyed this podcast today. You can get the recordings and you can sign up for our email list at consciousmarketer.com /podcast, or you can go to the homepage. We have all kinds of programs you can join. We love working with people to go deeper in their businesses and their life. Thanks, Kylie, for a wonderful podcast.
Thank you, everyone.
See you on the next podcast. Bye for now.